Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ron, and today we are going to be doing a bit of a different video for Deep Rock Galactic. This time I figured I would ask you guys, what is your favorite weapon with a particular class, and why that might be? So I've been putting polls up on the channel. Everybody can vote on them, so long as you actually see them on the channel. The first one was put up a couple days ago, asking about which weapon was your favorite primary weapon for Driller, and this is the pie chart that kind of came out from it. This is out of about 3,000 votes, at least for this one, because this one has been up the longest. And 47% of you said that the flamethrower was your favorite weapon, or your most used weapon on Driller as a primary weapon. Second was the cryo cannon at 30%, and then the sludge pump actually came in last at 23%, which is actually pretty even. I didn't know how even this would be. I was surprised that the flamethrower was almost taking up about half of the overall picks though. Then I kind of thought about the new season and the new robots showing up, and it's honestly not too surprising that people like the flamethrower a lot. A lot of the reasons as to why people liked the flamethrower was that they found it very flexible, or they were brand new to the game, so it was the only weapon that they had with the Driller. Makes sense as to why the first weapon we picked the most. I wonder if it's going to stay the same with the other classes. For some of them I kind of doubt it, and some of them I'm really curious to see which weapon people like the most or are using the most. The second most was the cryo cannon. Most people saying that they really like taking it with the melee Driller build. So you're running impact axes, you're going full damage with your drills, you're using your pickaxe fairly often, and you're freezing things. Another common sentiment that was held with both the flamethrower and the cryo cannon was that you can combine it with the wave cooker and put the temperature shock build on it, and then be able to either freeze and then burn, or burn and then freeze all the enemies. Of course, it can go back and forth pretty quick if you have like sticky flames in the ground, and that was a big point as to why people pointed out sticky flames. And then with the last pick being the sludge pump, it still had a pretty decent amount of votes though, at 23%. A lot of people seem to be liking the sludge pump since it got buffed, which is nice. Still not using it as much as the flamethrower as the cryo cannon. It kind of makes sense because it is the last weapon that you unlock for Driller, at least the last primary weapon. So it is going to be the furthest away from you if you're just starting out in the game. If you're a more veteran player and you have been playing it though, most people tend to go one or two ways, either really loving it because of all the utility that it has, where you have slowdown, you have armor breaking, and you have really high damage, especially with some of the overclocks, like how Volatile Impact Mixture got buffed and Sludge Blast got buffed, which is really awesome. But then a lot of people also said that the Sludge Pump wasn't really their favorite because it kind of has a weird arcing angle where you have to be a little bit accurate with it. It's still way more wiggle room than a lot of other weapons. It can be difficult for using it at long range, especially if you're combining it with like the EPC to light it on fire. People said that that was both kind of a pro and a con, because you can obviously light the sludge on fire, but all of your shots are slower, so it's more difficult to hit enemies that are far away on the map. But a very interesting pie chart here. Let's move on to the secondaries. This one had less votes because it wasn't up as long, but this one had about 2,500 votes in total as of making this video. It might be more now. This is what it broke down to, and I was really surprised by this one. This one probably surprised me the most, where the wave cooker was actually the most picked secondary at 47%, followed by the EPC at 28%, and then the Sabreta at 25%. I was surprised that 1/4 of players actually still picked the Sabreta, especially since a lot of people asked me, is the Sabreta underpowered? Is it kind of underperforming? So let's talk about the wave cooker first, since it's our most picked weapon. So a couple of the reasons why people pick the wave cooker as their most favorite weapon or their most used secondary weapon. One is that it has infinite range, which is a really big deal, especially for Driller, where all of your other weapons really don't have infinite range. Your primary weapons really don't. The only ones that kind of do are like Ice Spear if you're using that overclock for the cryo cannon, and if you're using Sludge Blast with the sludge pump, or I guess with the AG mixture. Really, that's about it. That's all you really got for long range. You can't pick off things at a distance very easily, at least with your primary weapon most of the time. The other reason why people liked it so much is that it synergizes so well with all of your primary weapons. You can just build it for extra damage when you're using the sludge pump, so you hit something with the sludge pump, slow it down, eat its armor, deal extra damage with the wave cooker and kill it that way. That way you're kind of trading off both weapons and running out of ammo about at the same time. You could say the same thing about the flamethrower and about the cryo cannon too, because you can build this for a thermal shock build, and then once something's on fire you can freeze it, or vice versa. And with the flamethrower being the most popular choice, it's very easy for the sticky flames to light things on fire, or for you just to burn them directly with just little spurts of the fire, and then switch over to the wave cooker to freeze them. Then we had the EPC coming in second, which I was the most surprised about. I really figured with how many people really love the EPC and really love Thin Containment Filled, it would probably be number 1. I figured it would be number 1, then Wave Cooker number 2, and Sabreta number 3. Common reasons as to why people did like the EPC was that you do have thin containment field, so you can mine with it, although that is more of an advanced technique that you can do in the game, not really a beginner technique. So if you are new to the game, I could see why people wouldn't really pick the EPC. It can also be a bit annoying when you're first starting out and both your charged shots as well as your regular shots can overheat your gun and can become an inconvenience to you. I think that's reasonable, as well as a lot of people had pointed out that they only used a few of the overclocks for the EPC, which I do too. It was pretty much persistent plasma and like energy rerouting, and that was about it. Sometimes overcharge or heavy hitter, people would say, but not very often. Nobody really said heat pipe or magnetic cooling unit, which I don't really use those two either. I find them to be kind of finicky. Another reason that people brought up using the EPC was that it is a way to light your sludge on fire, which they valued that, which is perfectly understandable. So then the last pick was the Sabreta. This one I was kind of surprised that it got as many votes as it did, because I honestly don't think the Sabreta is a very bad gun, but it does get kind of a lot of criticism in the community of being the weakest gun in Deep Rock, or one of the weakest guns in Deep Rock. And I kind of understand that because it's nothing flashy, it's kind of the basic pistol of the game. That being said, it's still a decent weapon, and a lot of people who picked this pretty much said that. Or they said that they really like explosive reload or trank rounds with it, which are fair enough points. Trank rounds is a really useful overclock. It gets you a 6-second stun. It's the longest stun in the game. Embedded detonators get you high damage, and it's great for taking on escort missions if you just want to kill the rocks. You could also go with the full auto Sabreta and just have a lot of fun with it. And other people just said that it was pretty reliable damage at a distance, which Driller doesn't really have, which is also true. If you can be hitting your shots with the Sabreta at longer ranges, you're probably going to kill things faster with it than you will with the Wave Cooker. There could be a few exceptions to that if you're using like Blister Necrosis or the Gamma Containment, but in general, yeah, the Sabreta will usually beat out the other weapons at long range for consistent damage if you can aim that well at those longer ranges. And then the very last pie chart we have here, I just stopped after about 800 votes because I could definitely see where it was going. This is your throwable, and kind of unsurprisingly to Driller, your impact axes are picked the most. It's winning by 86%, with frags coming in at 4% and neurotoxin coming in at that 10%. This really doesn't surprise me at all. Impact axes are so good, and they have so much utility, as well as you get the most amount of them out of these, which is just really nice because the impact axes count as melee weapons. Also, one of the major reasons why people pick the axe, I think, was to put axe puns in the comments below, which, I mean, I'm very proud of you guys for doing that. Thank you. That made my day. The impact axe does really high damage per hit. It also does really weird damage because it can count as both an impact damage, so melee damage, but also just as the kinetic damage too. And if you low roll the axe enough, you can still retrieve your axe even if you kill something with it. It's very odd. Same with, you can still hurt something by throwing the axe next to it because it has AoE damage. As I mentioned, the impact axes are melee damage. Almost every enemy in this game is weak to melee, so you get extra damage from that. You can also use these in utility purposes for clearing out the mushrooms in the fungus bog. You can break the electric crystals in the salt pits, I want to say. I don't remember where the electric crystals actually are. Maybe they're in the crystal caverns. Probably that one. But they just provide extra utility there. You can use them to smack Evo nuts out. You can throw them into the ground whenever you have a resupply, if you have more than 4 of them, because you're going to get 4 back for each resupply, and then go pick them back up again later. They just have a ton of uses to them, so yeah, this one's not surprising at all that it's winning by that much of a margin. The next most popular grenade was Neurotoxin Grenades. This one was pointed out for a couple reasons. One is that it slows down all enemies, which is very nice, and it does damage over time. So on higher difficulties, when bugs can move faster than you, the Neurotoxin Grenades can slow them down. You can also light the Neurotoxin on fire if you're using the flamethrower, or if you're using like the EPC with fire on it. And have a firebomb. Of course, other classes can use it too. Some people said that they dislike Neurotoxin for the same kind of reason, because it blinds them, and if somebody lights it on fire, it can potentially hurt you or hurt the team in general. You can also use it to clear out swarmers, which is really nice, although Driller has plenty of ways to clearing out swarmers, so it's just a nice addition. And then the last picked throwable for Driller was frag grenades at 4%, which I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's that high. I figured frag grenades would be like 1%, if I'm being honest, because frag grenades I almost never see on drillers. The few people that did vote for it and comment on it mostly stated that they thought it was underutilized, underappreciated, and undervalued in some ways, which I kind of understand because the frag grenades by themselves are really not that bad. They clear up hordes pretty well. They can break armor really easily, so if you throw it at a Praetorian, it can break that off, and you can use them to like kind of air burst if you chuck them at least high enough so that they explode. So I guess in conclusion, we know that all the driller primaries I think are in pretty good spots. This seems like a pretty good pick rate for me. The secondaries also seem like they're in pretty good spots. They seem to have a decent pick rate too. The throwables are where it really gets out of hand, to where one is picked way more than the other ones, which may not necessarily be a bad thing because the axes are the best throwable in the game, at least in my opinion, and one of the funnest. We'll have to wait and see what the new grenades are and see which ones people pick the most out of them. I'm curious if some of these will get moved around or if other grenades are going to be changed entirely. We'll have to wait until Season 3 for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed voting on this and enjoyed this little video here. I plan on doing it with the other classes too. And thanks everybody for watching this. I really do appreciate it. And special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube, patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos like this. And if you'd like to be a part of it, you can. There are links in the description as well as the join button. Thanks. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.